Welcome back. You're watching Global Lens. An uneasy calm prevails in Nepal 24 hours after a violent anti-corruption stir led by Gen Z stormed the corridors of power. Prime Minister Oli resigned yesterday as protesters went on a rampage. Nepal's army has imposed a nationwide curfew. Kathmandu airport has reopened for operations yesterday. Protesters stormed and set fire to several key government buildings, including international convention centres, which house the federal parliament. Thick plumes of smoke could be seen from the India side of the Nepal border. Politicians did not escape the protesters' anger either. Nepal's finance minister was chased and assaulted on the streets of Kathmandu. At least 25 people have been killed and over 600 have been injured so far. Meanwhile, the name of former Chief Justice Sushila Karki has been proposed by a section of protesters to lead the interim government in Nepal. She is the first female Chief Justice of the country whose tenure was cut short after lawmakers accused her of biased judgments. She is widely considered as a strong voice against corruption. And joining us on the program now is Manjeev Singh Puri, former ambassador to Nepal. Ambassador Puri, thank you so much for being with us. All right, we are now joined, we're told that Ambassador Puri will be with us in some time from now, but Mahesh Kushwaha, former research fellow is at CESIF, is joining us. Mahesh, could you give us a sense of how this choice of an interim head, former CJI Karki, will be for Nepal and the protesters?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. First of all, I think we have to understand how the name has come out and how and where we are at the moment with the name. So for this, I think we need to also understand that the Gen Z protesters, there are several groups who are still in the process of, finalizing or coming to a consensus on who they would be on board with. So while a section of them have proposed the name for Sushila Karki, others are they are opposing her name and they want the name of Kathmandu's Mayor Balendra Saha as the interim government lead, and for that they're also demanding that the parliament be dissolved before that. So there is a very it's an uncertain situation right now as we talk, that there are a group of youths literally outside the army headquarters building. They are confused. They are still in the process of discussing among themselves. And we saw in the news that the army chief or the army has told them to go back and come tomorrow morning, and with all the new discussions on whoever is going to represent the dialogue. And there's a big confusion and also cynicism among people that the army is prolonging this process. So, this is a very highly fluid situation, and we are yet to see how the events are going to unfold.
All right. Mahesh, could you also give us a sense of what's led to this anger? There are reports that this was building up. There were Facebook groups, social media groups for the past few months who were expressing anger about the state of affairs, about corruption, about unemployment, about lack of opportunities in the country. Was this a spontaneous movement only linked to the social media restrictions, or there was something bigger that was boiling?
So I think, for this, we have to understand the bigger context of how things progressed and like the immediate triggers, but also at the same time, the larger background context. And so we saw in the immediate past that there has been a wave of protests across the region in Southeast Asia, in Indonesia, Philippines, even Malaysia. And we saw that even if we go further back in Bangladesh and stuff. So these examples are in the backdrop of the developments in Nepal. So if we look at the events immediately before the social media ban, there was a social media campaign being led not by any particular leader or Gen Z leader. It was very organic, it seemed. And people in Nepal, or young people in Nepal and from across the world, they were posting with a hashtag of Nepo Baby and whatnot, and they were publicly shaming and naming these kids of current politicians. And so this was a movement or protest, social media movement that was building up against corruption, demanding lack of accountability, more transparency, and more efficient democracy, I would say. So this was happening, but what happened later was, in the name of social media compliance, the only led government banned these apps. And so when that happened, that was the immediate trigger. People started, they were using VPNs and they were using alternative ways to access these platforms. And then I think that's what led to the preparations to hit the streets. And I would like to also bring to the attention of the immediate incident. There was a uh, statute convention of the UML party going on in Kathmandu, and uh, a vehicle, a car of one of the provincial ministers hit hit a pedestrian, a young girl, I'd say, and the the prime minister made a very insensitive remark, and I think that enraged the public, and that was all these things were leading up and the public frustration, and that kind of led to the Gen Z or the young groups that were forming to hit the streets in Kathmandu. And it was very, I would say, urban centric movement in the beginning, but that developed rapidly, and we all know what happened by the end of the first day of the protest. So, and that kind of led to the frustration quickly turning into anger, and
Mahesh,
then we
also,
see.
what do you think is now going to happen in the country? Who is going to take up the leadership position? Is there going to be some sort of interim government that will be formed till elections will take place?
Yeah, that has been the demands coming in from many groups of these Gen Z uh, protesters. And I think we have to understand one thing, that the Kathmandu's mayor Balendra Shah, he floated the idea yesterday evening that, he was trying to calm the protesters down, but he mentioned something important that I think some of the protesters are clinging on to. He said that the parliament should be dissolved before they should engage in any sort of dialogue. And I think that has been a very important, factor that is kind of that's leading for these resistance among some of the groups. So, but what's going to happen next is it's still very up in the air. There is a very suspicious delay coming in from the Nepal army. They're pushing it, uh, pushing the dialogues and formation of an interim government. But we also have to, I think, look at the context, the constitutional provisions uh, that there is a lack of clear provision that would give clear direction to how or where the parliament, without dissolving the parliament, the government would be formed. So, according to
All
the
right.
constitution, if I may, I want to add that according to the Article 76 of the Constitution, there are provisions for forming new government from among the parliamentarians that are there. So,
Okay, Mahesh, I'd like to thank you for joining us on the program. With that, we've come to the end of Global Lens here on CNBC TV 18 Prime. Thank you for watching and goodbye.